Maybe I got it right this time. Let's find out. When I was looking at the stream template for this thing, I realized I almost tried to forgot to put it on public. Then I thought, I wonder if I forgot the last time. And I looked, and there was like a couple streams where it was on private the whole time. Definitely can't blame the the lack of viewers on anyone about myself. I am a complete fool. At least most of the time. A blind man fumbling in the darkness. Except I don't have the excuse someone that's blind does, or someone that's mentally handicapped. It's just that's the way it is. How are you guys doing? If there's anyone there. I was thinking about a few different things earlier, but it seems like most of them, except for a couple, have left the front of my mind for the moment. One of them was about time and perspective. Rabbi Yaron Rubin posted a video, I think it was earlier this morning, where a guy was asking about free will. And the fact that the Creator exists outside of time and physicality and matter. It's not, Creator's not bound by time. It's only physicality is bound by time. So his question was essentially, how can people have free will if God knows, all the choices that a person is going to make, and He knows the beginning of creation, this moment right now, and the very end, and knows it all is basically like one state, or one constant stream that can be perceived all at once, rather than how humans perceive existence. I was thinking about it. The humans really only have the moment and nothing else. People have memory to like recall the past, and based on the present and the recollection of past events, people can like conceive of the future to you know have ideas about what will happen, or make plans for a later time. But people don't really they can't perceive anything other than the moment that they're in. Not really, anyway. And so few people ever really are there in the moment. Almost every second, every instance a person exists is spent either contemplating about the past, or dreaming, or fearing of the future. Either how great or how horrible it might be, depending on their current and past states. The combination of totality of the present and recollection of past memories. But the common answer that I've heard Rabbi Mizraki and Rabbi Reuven mention about the concept of God knowing not only the choice and outcome a person makes, but every single possibility, and there still being free will is the kind of the example of a person writing down all the events that a person might, every detail of a person's day for the next like 24 hours from that moment when they're talking to the next night or whatever, writing everything down and sealing it in an envelope, and then telling a person not to open it and look at it until the next night. And then when they open it, they read, every single minuscule detail of everything that they did from the time that they left talking to that person until they opened the envelope and read it. There's the fact that the words are written down on a piece of paper, even though they're correct. Does that have any any influence on a person's actions? And the response they both gave was, obviously not. And that's usually the response of the person who asks the question. But I'm not sure if God writes people's choices down, not in a physical book, but like he does with everything else. I don't know for sure, but I would think that he just knows, and it's not written until it's actually done. But from the perspective of the creator, it was already done before the choice was made. So it's kind of like a catch-22 kind of thing. But from a human perspective, bound by time, I think I don't think the writing of or recording of what actually occurs outside of time affects the state prior to inside physicality, prior to the completion of whatever act is accomplished or a person does. I was thinking about the idea about physically writing something on paper. I think it doesn't have a huge weight, but I do kind of feel that it has some weight or some influence. Definitely, probably not enough to get that specific and have that much control. But there are certain things in the world that have power and influence. Written word isn't probably too high on that list. Words are far more powerful than, spoken words anyway are far more powerful than something written down. That's like that concept of positive affirmations, or like I forget what there's some spacey new age term for it that I can't recall, but basically like manifesting a person, like manifesting their will, or manifesting or changing reality by their thoughts or intent. And that definitely has a lot of validity. Both in internally how a person like thinks about things, and how those thoughts can change their own behaviors and their own perceptions. But they can also affect the external outside of a person, depending on how intense those the focus of that will is, along with a lot of other important aspects of whether a person is kind of allowed to access that much force or control. Or influence things. I think with things like that, like a person manifesting their will, there seems to be a fine line between like blissful ignorance and ignoring reality, and and trying to make things better. Um, I'm sure the inverse is true. Like there's a fine line between trying to shake people out of their stasis and creating more more darkness. Or at least that perception for people. Temporarily, anyway. Whenever a person gets that sinking feeling, like everything's about to go wrong, or or there's no hope, it has a very specific purpose. To show a person that all the plans that they make and all the physical things and people that they count on to to survive another day, or to keep themselves alive and safe, they're all absolutely nothing at all. It's not even dust. And, literally, they literally don't exist. And there's only one place to turn to. There's only one true existence. But almost everyone won't won't acknowledge that, or won't cry out for help until they're totally distraught and brought to their knees. That's the real purpose of terror. And the only reason that wicked and evil people that will never return are allowed to exist. Because without them, there would only be one way to rebuke people, and then it would be too obvious. Then like every generation would have some great horror story like the deluge or flood or Sodom getting destroyed from fire from the heavens. Or some other giant horrible phenomenon that would be very difficult to explain from a scientific perspective. Other than something ridiculous like aliens or some similar nonsense. One thing I think about when I have some dreams is this quote that I read from the I forget exactly which page, but I think it was the basic Wikipedia page for Kabbalah. There was some secular Israeli who he was a writer. Said he studied Kabbalah for a few years when he was younger, and the quote is something like, he had a hard time conceiving of the fact that everything, the himself, the dormouse, the Rothschild, the bedbug, and the dream were all the same thing, and none of them were more or less real than the other. Or maybe not more or less real, but all essentially the same thing. I think that's probably why a lot of people, at least people who aren't religious or don't come from a background of Torah before they get into Kabbalah, recommend regular psychiatric or psychological counseling. I had a dream the other night where somehow I got set up on a couple dates with some woman, but trying to get there was like a huge ordeal. It seemed like there was only 2 dates that I can recall in the dream, but they were both like I was late. I was in some city trying to like take shortcuts to get get to the place to meet her faster, and this one I went through a department store. Somehow wound up in like the women's lingerie section or something. There was like mirrors everywhere. I remember thinking to myself, this is kind of funny. It's like it is basically a house of mirrors. It's all an illusion. Thankfully, I didn't get stuck in there for very long. It was a pretty straightforward cut through. I think I made it to the first date, but I really don't remember anything. Everything always seemed like it was far away. And the second date was really weird. I'm trying to get there. I was like even further away. Like somehow I took the train or something, I don't know, into the city, and for some reason I got off like, I don't know, like a half mile away from where I was supposed to be. I kept having to like go across bridges and through parks, and I kept trying to look at the phone to call or text and send a message that I was trying to get there, but I was gonna be late, and like try to find directions for wherever this place was. But when I pulled out my phone, I couldn't like access anything. There was like some weird application of like taking over my phone. It was like a Hebrew learning, like a Hebrew language, like learn to speak Hebrew application or something. I haven't learned enough Hebrew to read very much, let alone figure out how to get get through that maze that was on the phone. First, a good look at that in a couple different ways. But I kind of get a feeling that there's only one meaning for me. I'm not sure if I'll make it though. I really would like to. But it seems really far away. Almost like a dream. I'm kind of half asleep. Can't really decide whether I can fall back to sleep and find that dream, or whether I'm gonna fully wake up and remain in waking life. Life is very strange. I heard it mentioned that the only uh, the only reason that people have physicality is to bring new life into the world. And if it wasn't for that need, that people wouldn't have bodies. There would be no need for bodies. But I also heard it mentioned that that matter and time are necessities in order to fulfill a lot of the commandments. Like there's at least the positive commandments. Without matter and time, there's and a physical body. There's really no way to do most, if not all, of the positive commandments. I mean, just by default, the person doesn't have to have time or matter or a physical body to not do something. But that kind of voids the purpose. Maybe it could be done with if people didn't have bodies, kind of in a an ethereal way. most of them still require time. So it has to be some kind of interaction with matter. Oh, my toes are getting cold. I really don't need to smoke anymore out here. So I think I'm gonna go inside and try to obtain some more wisdom before I go to sleep. If a person doesn't replace the bad with good, it's only a matter of time before they eventually fill that void with the same rot. Talk to you guys later.